Hi, my standard 10 students. Here I am, your English facilitator Himangi, back again with you to continue with your short stories. The story we are going to do today is The Girl Who Can. Okay, so let's open your textbooks to The Girl Who Can. Let's read about the author first. The Girl Who Can by Emma Etta Aidu. Okay. So Emma Etta Aidu was born in 1942 and she is a Ghanaian writer, playwright and academic. She was the Minister of Education. In The Girl Who Can, Aidu analyzes African women's struggle to find their rightful place in the society. Her stories raise issues of choice and conflict. The Girl Who Can is a story of a girl who rises above the pressures of social criticism. The story's protagonist is Adjoa, a little African girl who resides in a village in Ghana with her mother and grandmother. This is Adjoa's struggle to find her rightful place in the society despite her thin legs that she is constantly told are no good for supporting hips meant for childbearing. Adjoa's triumph proves that women have a greater role in society than merely being able to bear children. So that is the main thing, that she had thin legs and that she would not be able to bear children. That is a societal criticism which you have to constantly face. So let's begin with the story. The Girl Who Can. Keep your pens, pencils ready so we can do the meanings as we go along. They say that I was born in Hasodzi, and it is a very big village in the central region of our country, Ghana. So we are introduced to the writer, the narrator, and to the setting. They also say that when all of Africa is not choking under a drought, choking means stifling under a drought, Hasodzi lies in a very fertile lowland in a district known for its good soil. Maybe that is why any time I don't finish eating my food, Nena says, "You, Adjoa, you don't know what life is about. You don't know what problems there are in this life." As far as I could see, there was only one problem, and it had nothing to do with what I knew Nena considered as problems or what Mamie thinks as of the problem. Mamie is my mother, and Nena is my mother's mother. And they say I am 7 years old. And my problem is that at this 7 years of age, there are things I can think in my head, but which maybe I do not have the proper language to speak them out with. And that, I think, is a very serious problem, because it is always difficult to decide whether to keep quiet and not say any of the things that come into my head, or to say them and get laughed at. Not so we realize over here that the authoress is the narrator, and the narrator is a little girl of 7 years old, and she is very confused. She herself is in a confused state of mind. She is living with her mother and her grandmother. Her mother she calls as Mamie, and her grandmother she calls as Nena. Now, so this Nena and Mamie, she's living with them, and she doesn't know whether she can express herself or whether she is not allowed to express herself. Means, can she speak what she's thinking or she should not speak? Okay, so we get that confusion state in our mind. Not that it is easy to get any grown up to listen to you, even when you decide to take the risk and say something serious to them. So what happens is that the grown ups just don't listen to you. Even when you are serious and you want to say something serious, the grown ups are not willing to listen. Take Nena at first. First, I have to struggle to catch her attention. Okay. So the first thing is that she has to struggle to catch the attention of her grandmother. Nena is a grandmother. So grandmother. to get her attention. Then I tell her something. I had taken a long time to figure out, means to conclude. I had taken very long to conclude that, okay, I want to tell this thing to my grandmother. So first of all, she finds it very difficult to get her attention. Once she gets her attention, it is very difficult to even speak up, okay? And then you know what always happens. She would once stop whatever she is doing and mouth open, stare at me for a very long time. Then, bending and turning her head slightly so that one ear comes down towards me, she'll say in that voice, Ajoa, you say what? After I have repeated whatever I had said, she would either, still in that voice, ask, Never, 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 but never repeat that. Or she would immediately burst out laughing. She would laugh and laugh and laugh until tears ran down her cheeks. And she would stop whatever she is doing and wipe away her tears with the hanging edges of her cloth. And she would continue laughing until she is completely tired. So this was a response that the child used to get from her grandmother whom she used to call as Nena. And this grandmother, first she would have to muster up a lot of courage to be able to express herself. Then the second thing she would have to do is she would have to really do something so that she would get the attention of her grandmother. And once she got the attention of her grandmother, she would say something. And when she would say something, her grandmother would again put her ear down and say, What did you say? Okay, and then she would repeat whatever she wanted to say. Now, as soon as she repeated what she wanted to say, her grandmother would either laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh till tears ran down from her eyes, or she would say in a very stern voice, Never, 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 never repeat that. Okay, so this was the common response that the little girl used to get from her grandmother. So she realized at a very young age that she was not allowed to express herself. She was totally confused about expressing herself. Okay. And she would continue laughing until she is completely tired. But then as soon as another person comes by, just to make sure she doesn't forget whatever I had said, she would repeat it to her. So as soon as another person from the community came over there, just so that she wouldn't forget what I had said, she would repeat the entire thing to her. That, Joa said this. And then, of course, there would be two old people laughing and screaming with tears running down their faces. Sometimes this show continues until there are 3, 4, or even more of such laughing and screaming, tear-faced grown-ups, and all that performance on whatever I had said. So she was shocked that sometimes they would laugh and laugh, not only one person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and they would all laugh just on what I had said, because I had said something. Okay, I find something quite confusing in all this. So the author is saying this is very confusing. I really don't know. That is because no one ever explains to me why sometimes I shouldn't repeat some things I say, while at other times some other things I say would not only be all right, but would be considered so funny that they would be repeated so many times for so many people's enjoyment. You see how neither way of hearing me out can encourage me to express my thoughts too often. Hearing me out is to listen to what someone has to say. So she's saying in both the cases, I would never know whether I can talk or whether I cannot talk. So both the responses were so bad that they would never encourage me to speak, and I could never speak. Okay, like all this business to do with my legs. I have always wanted to tell them not to worry. So now there is some problem in her legs, and she wanted to tell her mother and her grandmother that please do not worry about my legs. I mean, Nena and my mother. That it did not have to be an issue for my 2 favorite people to fight over. So who are her 2 favorite people? Her Nena, means her grandmother, and her mother. They were both favorite, but they used to always fight about her legs. And she wanted to tell them that you both are my favorite people and I don't want you all to be fighting about my legs. Okay. But I didn't want either to be told not to repeat that or it to be considered so funny that anyone would laugh at me until they cried. After all, they were my legs. So she's saying that I wanted to tell them this thing that you should not be worried about my legs. But she's saying I just didn't know, because either I would be sternly told that don't repeat such a thing again, or they would laugh and laugh and laugh. And I'm quite confused about these two responses. Okay. When I think back on it now, those two, Nena and my mother, must have been discussing my legs from the day I was born. So she's saying from the time I was born, I'm sure they were discussing my legs. What I'm sure of is that when I came out of the land of sweet, soft silence into the world of noise, please underline sweet, soft silence, it's an alliteration. So when I came out of the land of sweet, soft silence into the world of noise and comprehension, the first topic I met was my legs. So she's saying the first topic I've ever realized was the topic of my legs being discussed by my Nena and by my grandmother. And my mother. Nena is her grandmother. That discussion was repeated very regularly. Nena, you know Kea? I thank my God. Kea is the name of her mother. I thank my God that your very first child is female. But Kea, I'm not sure about her legs. So she's saying, I'm not sure about her legs. And Nena would shake her head. Mamie, mother, why are you always complaining about Adjoa's legs? If you ask me, Nena, they are too thin. And I am not asking you. Nena has many voices. There is a special one she uses to shut everyone up. Some people have no legs at all. My mother would try again with all her small courage. But Adjoa has legs, Nena would insist, except that they are too thin and also too long for a woman. Kea, listen. Once in a while, but once in a very long while, somebody decides, that means nature, a child spirit mother, an accident happens and somebody gets born without arms or legs or both sets of limbs. And then, let me touch wood, it is a very sad business. And you know, such things are not for talking about every day. But if any female child decides to come into this world with legs, means if any female child decides that she should have legs rather than being born without legs. So if she decides to come into this world with legs, then they might as well be proper legs. What kind of legs? And always at that point, I knew from her voice that my mother was weeping inside. Nena never heard such inside weeping. Not that it would have stopped Nena, even if she heard it, which always surprised me, because about almost everything else apart from my legs, Nena is such a good grown-up. In any case, what do I know about good grown-ups or bad grown-ups? How could Nena be a good grown-up when she carried on so about my legs? All I want to say is that I really liked Nena except for that. So she's saying I really loved my grandmother. The only reason when I did not love my grandmother was when she spoke about my legs. I did not like her. Otherwise, I liked her. Because whenever she criticized my legs, I could feel that my mother was crying inside. And no child ever likes his or her mother to cry. So that is the only reason why she did not like her grandmother. Otherwise, she felt that Nena was a very good person. Nena, as I keep saying, if any woman decides to come into this world with all of her two legs, then she should select legs that have meat on them, means which are thick, with good calves, because you are sure that such legs would support solid hips, and a woman must have solid hips to be able to bear children. So now Nena has given her the reason that whenever a woman is born, she should come in this world and have meaty legs. There should be sufficient amount of flesh on her legs. Why? So that she will have so that such legs would be able to support strong hips. And if that person has strong hips, means if that woman has strong hips, only then she would be able to bear children. So ultimately it has boiled down to the point. So we come to that societal expectation from a woman that you must have a child, and to have a child you must have proper strong hips, and to support your strong hips you must have strong legs which have a lot of flesh on them. Okay, so we come to the crux of the matter. This is the climax, that why you need strong legs. Oh mother, that's how my mother would answer, very, very quietly. And the discussion would end, or they would move on to something else. Understood the story so far? Sometimes Nena would pull in something about my father. Now, sometimes Nena would get so upset, and then when that topic would end, she would start talking about her father. Whose father? The authoress's father. She would start talking about the author's father. And what would she say? Looking at such a man, we have to be humble and admit that after all, God's children are many. So now we come to the point when Nena was not happy with her son in law also. She did not like her son in law. But she said that we just have to be humble and we have to accept the fact that God has all sorts of children, and your husband, means the author's father, Kaya's husband, is also God's child, and therefore you have to accept whatever he is. Okay. How, after one's only daughter had insisted on marrying a man like that? So now Nena is blaming her own daughter. She's saying, you made a wrong choice. You chose a wrong husband. You chose a wrong man for a husband. Okay. So she's blaming her daughter again. You still have to thank God that the biggest problem you got later was having a granddaughter with spindly legs that are too long for a woman and too thin to be of any use. So now she's blaming herself. She's saying that I am only so unlucky that I had a daughter who chose a wrong husband, and later on I accepted the fact that my daughter has chosen a wrong man for a husband, and above all, my daughter has given birth to a girl, a female child, who also has thin legs, which are not good according to our religion, according to our customs. So she is blaming herself also. So we find the grandmother blaming herself that she has had such a daughter. Then she blames her daughter that the daughter has married a wrong man. And then she blames her daughter's daughter that the daughter's daughter has got wrong legs, which are too thin. So she's blaming all the three females. Just see the irony of it, that we have one woman who is blaming another woman, and she's again blaming another woman. There is no father involved over here. There is no male chauvinism over here. It is a woman blaming a woman blaming a woman. The way she always added that bit about my father under her breath, she probably thought I didn't hear it, but I always heard it. Plus, that is what always shut my mother up for good. So that even if I had actually not heard the words, once my mother looked like even her little courage was finished, I could always guess what Nena had added to the argument. Legs that have meat on them, with good calves to support solid hips to be able to have children. So I wished that one day I would see for myself the legs of any woman who had children. But in our village, that is not easy. The older women wear long wraparounds all the time. Perhaps if they let me go bathe in the river in the evening, I could have checked. But I never had the chance. It took a lot of begging just to get my mother and Nena to let me go splash around in the shallow end of the river with my friends, who were other girls like me. For proper baths, we used the small bathhouse behind our hut. So what is a bathhouse? A bathhouse is a small building with a lot of bathrooms. So a bathhouse is a small building which had a lot of bathrooms over there, and that is where you go to take a bath. Therefore, the only naked female legs I have ever really seen are those of other little girls like me or older girls in the school. And those of my mother and Nena, two pairs of legs, which must surely belong to the approved kind because Nena gave birth to my mother and my mother gave birth to me. In my eyes, all my friends have got legs that look like legs. But whether the legs have got meat on them or to support the kind of hips, that I don't know. So she has not seen any other pairs of legs, and she's saying, I just don't know what sort of legs are expected that a woman should be born with. Okay. A lot of discussion on legs. According to the older boys and girls, the distance between a little village and the small town is about 5 kilometers. I don't know what 5 kilometers mean. They always complain about how long it is to walk to school and back. But to me, we live in a village and walking those kilometers didn't matter. School is nice. School is another thing Nena and my mother discussed often and appeared to have different ideas about them. Nena thought it would be a waste of time. I never understood what she meant, but my mother seemed to know, and she disagreed. She kept telling Nena that she, that is my mother, felt she was locked into some kind of darkness because she didn't go to school. So that if I, her daughter, could learn to read and write my name, my own name, and a little besides, perhaps be able to calculate something on paper, that would be good. I could always marry later, maybe. Nena would just laugh. Ah, maybe with legs like hers, she might as well go to school. Running with her. So, first of all, even the school thing, Nena did not approve of the granddaughter going to school, but her mother insisted that no, my daughter must go to school and my daughter must have that education. Running with her classmates on our small sports field and winning first place each time never seemed to me to be anything about which to tell anyone at home. This time it was different. I don't know how. The teachers decided to let me run for the junior section of our school in the district games. But they did. So my teachers decided that I can run for the district games. From that small village, she is going to go up to the district. So they did. I think we'll stop over here and we'll continue in the next lecture with this story from here about the girl who can. Okay, it's a beautiful story. It tells us a lot about the societal taboos which are put on girls, and especially because we read about the author that she was the education minister and from a village how she rose to that position. Meanwhile, children, I would like to draw your attention to another story which is there in your textbook. This treasure chest, which is your textbook, which I'm holding up for you, which you all are following. I want you all to open to the story number 8. Okay, story number 8, which is on page number 151, and that is written Gauramma's Letter by Sudha Murthy. Now, Sudha Murthy, as we all know, most of you all would be aware of who Sudha Murthy is. She's a Rajya Sabha member, she is a Padma Shri, and she has also written this beautiful letter about Gauramma's Letter. Is also a beautiful story about how a person can overcome societal limits. And Sudha Murthy, we are talking about emancipation of women, isn't it? In this story, that is what we are looking at. This has got a lot of the Indian character involved, and Sudha Murthy talks about the typical stereotype. There was this lady called Gauramma who was her teacher. She was Sudha Murthy's teacher, and she was a barren woman, and she did not have any children. And because she did not have any children, her husband had abandoned her. She was left and she was abandoned by her husband. But she was a teacher in that school and she taught Sudha Murthy. And there was a time when Sudha Murthy mentions her. If you read the entire story, you will come to know. Sudha Murthy mentions her and shows her gratefulness for her teacher Gauramma. And the next day she gets a letter from Gauramma telling her that I am very proud to have a child like you who has acknowledged me. And that story ends with a tear in her eye. It's a beautiful story, children. If you have time, do read it. It is more about the Indian society and about how we need to change our views about girls and women. So I leave you all with that. I will not be able to talk much further. I'll see you in my next module where we'll continue with the story. Bye everyone. Wish you all the best.